Hello, everyone, and welcome to the introduction to organic farming, the Afrieden Agriconnect Level 1 International Organic Farming Training, compiled by Gladys Dalung, the team lead of the Afrieden Agriconnect International Organic Farming Training. In this training, you will be learning um, the basics of organic farming, from the definition of organic farming, the definition of regenerative organic farming, definition and historical development of organic farming in Africa and internationally, principles guiding organic farming, and we'll look at the benefits and practices of organic farming to the environment, health of humans and animals, and the economic benefits of organic farming. We'll also be looking at the essential practices used in organic and regenerative farming. We'll be looking at certifications, the various types of certifications, and the starting tips towards certifications, explaining the different organic certifications and their importance, guidance on establishing an organic farm. And lastly, we will look at how to transition your farm or your small space from conventional farming to organic farming and strategies you can use for organic farming in small urban places or spaces. What is regenerative organic farming? Regenerative organic farming is a holistic approach to sustainable agriculture that focuses on improving soil health, biodiversity, and ecosystem resilience while enhancing crop productivity. It combines organic farming principles, which avoid synthetic chemicals, the use of synthetic chemicals, with regenerative practices designed to restore and enhance ecosystems. Regenerative agricultural practices include cover cropping, crop rotation, holistic livestock management, agroforestry, no-till or low-till farming, composting and organic fertilization, water management, biodiversity enhancement. These practices not only improve farm productivity but also addresses the issues such as climate change, soil degradation, and loss of biodiversity. What is organic farming in the sense of it? Organic farming, also known as low input farming or organic agriculture, is a type of agriculture where production of crops or livestock is done using natural resources, nutrients, and methods. It is an integrated farming system that strives for sustainability, enhancement of soil fertility, and biological diversity, while prohibiting, with rare exceptions, the use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, antibiotics, growth hormones, and genetically modified organisms. The term organic farming was first used by a British agriculturist, Lord James Notburn, in 1940 in his book Look to the Land, where he discussed the farm as a living holistic organism. His philosophy was grounded in the idea that farming should work in harmony with nature rather than rely on artificial chemicals and fertilizers. His ideas significantly influenced the development of organic agriculture as a movement and practice, which the Afri-Eden Agri-Connect farming training and community is one of such. The term organic is globally protected and regulated under certain regulatory frameworks to ensure that products labeled and sold as organic meet specific standards. We will dive deeper into such regulatory frameworks in level 2 and 3. The historical development of organic farming. Organic farming has deep historical roots dating back to ancient agricultural systems that rely on natural cycles and biological processes to produce food. However, the formal concept of organic farming as we know it today began to take shape in the 20th century as a response to the growing industrialization of agriculture. Here's a timeline of key developments in organic farming history. Ancient and pre industrial agriculture. In early agricultural societies, farming was inherently organic because synthetic chemicals like fertilizers and pesticides did not exist. Ancient farmers relied on natural methods such as crop rotation, composting, and animal manure to maintain soil fertility and control pests. Traditional farming systems, such as those in ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and China, were based on these principles for thousands of years. In the early 20th century, reaction to industrialization of organic farming. The birth of modern organic farming can be traced to the early 20th century. During this period, agriculture became increasingly industrialized with the widespread use of synthetic fertilizers and chemical pesticides to boost crop yields. This shift raised concerns about soil degradation, pollution, and the long term sustainability of industrial farming. Sir Albert Howard, known as the father of modern organic farming, Howard was a British botanist who studied traditional farming methods in India. He emphasized the importance of soil health and the use of compost as a natural fertilizer. In his book, An Agricultural Testament, laid out the groundwork for the organic movement by promoting natural farming techniques over synthetic chemicals. Rudolf Steiner, an Australian philosopher, developed the concept of biodynamic farming in the 1920s. This holistic approach to agriculture views farm as a self sustaining ecosystem and emphasizes the use of organic inputs, crop diversity, and soil health. J.I. Rodale. In the United States, J.I. Rodale was a key figure in popularizing organic farming. He founded the Rodale Institute and started the magazine Organic Farming and Gardening in the 1940s. Rodale's work helped introduce the idea of organic farming to mainstream American farmers and consumers. Post-war era from 1940 to the 1960s. The rise of industrial agriculture. After World War II, industrial agriculture expanded rapidly, with synthetic fertilizers and pesticides becoming more common. This period also saw the use of monoculture, that is, the practice of growing one single crop over a large area, which often led to soil depletion and pest outbreak. In response to these changes, the organic movement grew as a counterbalance, promoting farming practices that worked with nature rather than against it. Organic farmers and advocates continued to focus on soil health, biodiversity, and sustainable practices. Then began codification and certification in the 1970s to the 1980s. During the 1970s, consumer awareness of environmental issues grew and the demand for organic products increased. In response, organic farming standards began to take shape, and certification systems were developed to distinguish organic products from conventional ones. The Soil Association, founded in 1946 in the United Kingdom. The Soil Association was one of the first organizations to develop organic farming standards. It played a leading role in shaping modern organic certification in the UK. In the 1970s, the organic food movement began. In the US and Europe, the environmental and health movements of the 1970s brought farming into the spotlight. Organic food became more widely available in health food stores, and grassroots movements worked to establish organic certification movements. The 1990s saw to the mainstream acceptance and regulation of organic farming. In the 1990s, organic farming entered the mainstream as consumers increasingly demanded organic products due to health and environmental concerns. Governments also began to regulate organic farming, leading to the development of official standards and certification processes. USDA in 2000. In the US, the Organic Food Production Act, also known as the Act, led to the creation of the National Organic Program, NOP, which you will hear a lot about in the course of this training, which set national standards for organic farming in the US. In the year 2000, the USDA began certifying farms and products that met these standards, giving organic food an official label. EU organic regulations, or the European Union organic regulations. The EU introduced its own organic certification regulations, which laid out strict criteria for organic farming practices and the use of the organic labels across Europe. So if you're going to produce or process your food products, organic food products from Africa, you want to export to the European organic market, you have to have the EU organic certification. The 21st century saw to the growth and innovation in the organic space. Today, organic farming is a global movement supported by millions of farmers, consumers, and organizations worldwide. The organic market continues to grow, and increasing consumer demand for food is free from synthetic chemicals and produced using sustainable methods is on the increase. The principles of organic farming have also influenced other sustainable farming movements, including regenerative agriculture and agroecology. Throughout its history, organic farming has emphasized soil health, biodiversity, and ecological balance, focusing on long term sustainability rather than short term yields. It remains a vital response to the environmental challenges posed by conventional industrial farming systems. The historical development of organic farming in Africa. Historically, Africans have relied on natural methods like crop rotation, intercropping, and using animal manure and human manure, which are similar to modern organic practices. After colonialism, many countries shifted to industrial agriculture, introducing synthetic chemicals, but these often harmed smallholder farmers and the environment. Organic farming in Africa today is rooted in a history of natural sustainable farming systems but it has gained more formal recognition and structure in recent years. Let's explore its history and the opportunities that organic farmers have in Africa. Indigenous and traditional practices. Africa has a long history of traditional farming methods that closely resemble modern day organic practices. African farmers have always relied on natural farming methods such as crop rotation, intercropping, using animal manure as fertilizer, and employing natural pest control. These methods, which sustained communities for centuries, are inherently organic as they avoid synthetic inputs. For example, agroforestry systems in West Africa and terrace farming in East Africa are examples of traditional sustainable agriculture. Post colonial industrialization and decline of traditional methods. After colonialism, many African countries were encouraged to adopt industrial agriculture to increase food production. These led to the introduction of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and monoculture systems. However, the focus on industrialized farming often marginalized smallholder farmers and led to environmental degradation, such as soil depletion and loss of biodiversity. Diversity. Resurgence of organic farming in the 1990s to the early 2000s. In the late 20th century, organic farming gained momentum in Africa as global and local movements began recognizing the negative impact of industrialized agriculture practices, such as soil erosion, chemical pollution, and loss of traditional knowledge. African farmers, NGOs, and government organizations started exploring sustainable agricultural alternatives that would align with the continent's ecological and cultural diversity. IFOAM's influence. The International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements, IFOAM, played a key role in promoting organic farming in Africa. It facilitated the formation of local organic organizations and helped develop organic standards across different African regions. We have a resource in the Google Classroom for the students of this training on this aspect of the training. Introduction of organic certification in Africa. With growing interest in organic produce from international markets, African countries began developing organic certification systems. For example, Kenya, Uganda, and South Africa became leaders in organic farming certifications, allowing farmers to access lucrative export market in Europe and the US. Current growth and regional initiatives from the year 2000 to present day. East Africa, in countries like Uganda and Tanzania, have become major exporters of organic produce, particularly organic coffee, cocoa, spices, and fresh vegetables. Uganda, in particular, has one of the highest numbers of certified organic farmers in Africa. The East African Organic Product Standards, EAOPS, was created to harmonize organic farming standards in the region, making it easier for smallholder farmers to participate in organic markets globally. West Africa. West African countries, including Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal, are increasingly embracing organic farming. These countries focus on both domestic food security, and export markets. Organic rice, cocoa, and shea butter are some of the key organic products coming out of West Africa. Southern Africa. In South Africa and Zambia, organic farming is seeing significant growth driven by both local markets and international demand. Organic vineyards in South Africa, for example, produce some of the finest organic wines, while Zambia has expanded into organic cotton and food crops. Opportunities for organic farmers in Africa. Growing global demand for organic food products like coffee, cocoa, and spices provides a large market for African organic farmers. Ecological resilience. Resilience to climate change through sustainable farming practices. Empowering smallholder farmers by providing access to premium markets. Looking at the statistics, Africa has a larger number of smallholder farmers, and those farmers, if being taught right to farm organically the right way, will have good reward for their labor. 4. Rising domestic demand of organic food in African cities and globally. 5. Agrotourism and training to attract visitors and provide education. The sixth opportunity for organic farmers in Africa is policy support from governments and initiative like the African Union's Ecological Organic Agriculture Initiative, EOA. Challenges being faced by organic farmers in Africa. Number one, the high cost of certification. Secondly, infrastructure issues. And thirdly, the need for capacity building, which trainings such as this one seeks to solve. In spite of all these challenges, with growing global demand for organic products and produce, and increasing local interest, African farmers have a bright future in organic agriculture, offering opportunities for economic growth and sustainability. What does organic farming involve? Organic farming involves natural forms of agricultural practices, such as biological pest control. An example of biological pest control is using ladybug to keep down the aphid population instead of using chemical pesticides. Crop rotation. Farmers rotate crops seasonally to maintain soil fertility, manage pest and disease, and reduce soil erosion. For example, rotating legumes such as cowpea with grains helps replenish nitrogen in the soil. Composting. Organic farmers use compost made from plant residues, kitchen residues, animal manure, and human manure to improve soil structure, fertility, and microbial life. Green manure and cover cropping. Planting cover crops like clove, sesame seed, lab, in between growing seasons prevents soil erosion, improves soil structure, and adds organic matter to the soil when plowed under. Companion planting. Certain plants are grown together because they benefit each other. For example, marigold are planted with tomato to repel insects. What does organic farming involve? Organic farming involves the use of organic fertilizers. Natural fertilizers such as bone meal, rock phosphate, and manure are used to supply nutrients to the soil without harming the environment. no tillage or reduced tillage. This practice minimizes soil disturbance, helping to maintain soil structure, reduce erosion, and support healthy microbial activity. Integrated livestock management. Animals are raised alongside crops and their waste is used as fertilizer, promoting a closed loop system that minimizes external inputs. Mulching. Applying organic materials such as straws, leaves, fallen leaves from trees, to the soil surface to retain moisture suppresses weeds and regulate soil temperature. Water conservation. Techniques like drip irrigation and rainwater harvesting are employed to reduce water usage and promote efficient water management. You will learn a lot of this in practicals in the course of your training. There is much to organic farming other than simply opting not to use artificial pesticides, fertilizers, or genetically modified organisms. Organic farming is a holistic system which optimizes the fitness and productivity of diverse communities within the agro ecosystem. In organic farming, emphasis is placed on natural methods of production and pest control. The use of inputs that minimizes damage to humans, the environment, and wildlife. Principles of organic farming. The principles of organic farming include health, ecology, fairness, and care. For health, organic farming aims to improve the health of soil, plants, animals, and humans. Ecologically, it works with natural ecosystems and cycles to promote sustainability. Fairness, it emphasizes fairness in farming practices and animal welfare. And care, organic farming uses methods that safeguard the environment and biodiversity. Benefits of organic farming. Organic farming benefits the environment, human health, and the economies of societies. Environment. Organic farming reduces soil degradation and erosion, protects biodiversity by avoiding harmful chemicals, and conserves water through efficient farming techniques. Human health. Organic farming helps in reducing exposure to toxic chemicals found in conventional farming from pesticides, antibiotics, and the rest. And fertilizers. It also produces nutrient rich foods without harmful residues. The economic benefits of organic farming includes organic farming profitability in the long term by reducing input costs. The organic farmer does not use artificial fertilizers and pesticides, so that cost is eliminated in the process of farming. Economically, organic farming also supports local economies by promoting sustainable and community-based farming system. Imagine using the waste from your environment or your communities as fertilizer. Organic certifications and starting tips. Understanding organic certification and why it is important is essential if you want to label and sell your products as organic. It guarantees It's a guarantee to consumers that your farm or processing operation complies with the organic standards set by the certifying body you choose to use. The certification allows the use of organic seals that is being provided by your certification body, for instance, the USDA and the EU or JAS, and opens up premium markets for your products. When you use those seals, you're able to sell in markets that you get premium payments for, that your products will be bought at premium. Secondly, you need to evaluate whether certification is required by you or not. For example, certification is mandatory by the USDA if you are selling over if you're selling produce of over $5,000 annually. For farms or businesses that make less than $5,000 in organic sales each year, certification is optional, but these operations still need to follow organic standards, although they cannot use the organic seal, but they can sell their produce in organic markets. Thirdly, you need to be familiar with organic standards. If you're adopting the USDA process, for instance, you need to review the USDA National Organic Program standards, which covers topics like prohibited substance, synthetic pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and GMOs. Now, when you are choosing to adopt any certification bodies standards, you need to understand that IFOAM is the body that sets the baseline, and almost all it's just a little variation that these certification bodies have, but all of them are being grounded in the same organic principles and standards. So your goal determines the certification body that you choose to adopt as your standard for practicing organic farming or practices. Prohibited substances, you need to be familiar with prohibited substances. Synthetic pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and GMOs are not allowed in organic farming. And you also need to know approved inputs that you can use in your practices. Use of natural and organic inputs such as compost, manure, and cover crops. You need to know which ones are approved for use. Then you need to understand how to set up your buffer zones. If your farm is near a non-organic farm, you must create buffer zones to prevent contamination between the organic farms and the conventional farms. You also need to evaluate to prepare for transition. Your farm must be free, or your land must be free from prohibited substance for at least 3 years before it can be certified as organic. So during this period, you need to maintain records of inputs, crop rotation, and any farming activities that takes place on your farm. This transition period ensures that the soil and the farm practices complies with global organic standards before you can apply for certification. The fifth thing you need to be aware of is you need to develop an organic system plan. That is a living document that guides your practices on your farm. The organic system plan is a detailed document required for certification. It outlines how your farm or business meets the organic standards, and it typically includes crop production methods, fertility, which is the fertility management, crop rotation, and pest control that you adopt on your farm, It also includes pest and weed control, which documents the natural pest management and weed control practices that you have adopted on your farm. It also includes buffer input management. Your organic system plans input management must list all the plants you use, all the plant you want to put in use. For instance, the seeds, the compost, the manure, ensuring that they are organically approved. So you need to work hand in hand with the approved list of organic inputs. Your organic system plan also have to contain your record keeping system. You need to adopt a record keeping system. And your record keeping system outlines how you will document all aspects of your farming operations, including inputs, activities, and harvest. An in-depth training on how to develop an organic system plan will be thoroughly taught in level 3 of this training. The sixth thing you need to be aware of is to select an accredited certifying agent. Your organic business consultant or yourself can contact an accredited certifying agent who will guide you through the certification process. Certifiers are responsible for reviewing your organic system plan, inspecting your farm, and issuing your certification. Certifying agents can be located within your region or they operate nationwide or worldwide. The seventh thing you need to do is to submit your application. After selecting a certifier, you will need to submit your application forms provided by the certifier, your organic system plan, as well explained earlier, the map of your farm, a list of inputs, fertilizers, seeds, etc., used on your farm. Along with the application, you also need to submit the application fee, which varies by certifiers. The eighth thing you need to take note of is on site inspection. Once your application is reviewed, the certifying agent will schedule an on site inspection to verify compliance with the USDA organic standards. During the inspection, the inspector will review your farm's records and input usage, inspect your fields, equipment, and storage facilities, evaluate your pest, weed, and fertility management practices, and also you need to be ready to provide documentation and answer questions about your farming practices during the inspection. Certification decision. After the inspection by the inspector, organic inspector, the certifier will review the inspector's report to determine if your farm meets the organic standards. If everything is in order, the certifier will issue your organic certificate. If there are any areas of non-compliance, that is areas where you're not fully practicing organic standards, the certifier will request corrective actions that must be addressed before certification can be granted. Working hand in hand with your organic consultant, farming consultant, can help you reduce to a large extent the issues of non compliance. 10. You must maintain your certification. Certification is an ongoing process, it is not a one off thing. Therefore, you need to submit an annual update of your organic system plan. Every change you make on your or you intend to make on your farm after your certification must be reported to your certifier. Your certifier has to verify it and okay it before you can go ahead with it. And you also need to constantly always submit an annual update of your organic system plan. Undergo an annual inspection at least once a year to ensure continued compliance, and maintain accurate records of all organic practices, input, outputs, and harvest records. 10. Cost. Organic certification costs vary depending on the size and complexity of your operation. These costs typically include application fees, inspection fees, and annual renewal fees. Marketing your organic products is a tough thing you need to know before you go into organic certification. Once certified, you can legally market your products as organic and use the organic seal on your products. This certification opens up new markets such as organic retailers, farmers markets, community supported agriculture CSA programs, and export markets. 13. Stay compliant and evolve. Organic certification is not static. You need to keep evolving, learning new sustainable practices, and ensuring compliance with updated organic standards. Join organic farming networks, attend training sessions like this one, and collaborate with other certified organic farmers and organic farmers in this community and other communities and operations to stay informed. You must stay informed at all times. Different organic certifications and their importance. There are several organic certifications available globally, each one with its own standards and guidelines. Organic certification is crucial for ensuring that products labeled as organic adhere to recognized standards and practices. The most prominent organic certifications include the USDA Organic, United States Department for Agriculture, which is a training that I have undergone. This certification applies to crops, livestock, and processed products in the US. It ensures compliance with the National Organic Program standards, which is also what will be taught to students in level 2 and level 3 in full. And that is why they are having certificates and transcripts after the training. Key standards of the USDA: no synthetic use, pesticides use, fertilizers, or GMOs on your operations. Strict animal welfare standards for organic livestock, no use of antibiotics. Organic handling and processing, free from synthetic additives and preservatives. The USDA Organic Seal is one of the most recognized organic certification globally. It ensures the integrity of the organic label and grants access to the lucrative US organic market. The EU. I'm also trained as an EU organic expert. So, the scope of the EU organic certification applies to food, feeds, seeds, and other agricultural products within the European Union. Key standards of the EU organics: it prohibits the use of synthetic chemicals and GMOs. It adheres to strict regulation on animal welfare and organic feeds for livestock. It requires sustainable farming practices, including crop rotation and biodiversity protection. This certification allows access to the European market, where organic products are highly valued. It also ensures consumers in the EU trust the organic label, knowing it meets rigorous standards. JAS, JAS Organic, that is the Japanese Agricultural Standard. The JAS organic certification applies to crops, livestock, and processed foods in Japan, just like the USDA in US. Key standards: no use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, or GMOs. Emphasize on soil fertility through organic inputs like compost and green manure, and complies with environmental conservation practices. Products bearing the JAS label are accepted in Japan, a major market for organic products. The certification builds consumer trust and ensures high quality organic standards. Canada Organic. Canada Organic certification applies to agricultural products, livestock, and processed foods in Canada. It prohibits the use of synthetic chemicals, antibiotics, and GMOs. Strict rules on organic livestock management, including organic feed and access to pasture, and insists on sustainable soil and crop management practices. The Canada Organic certification gives access to the Canadian organic market and ensures compliance with strict national standards. It also facilitates trades with the US under the US Canada Organic Equivalence Agreement, which currently is in 4 countries. The US organic equivalence is actually running right now between 4 countries. Natureland, Germany. This certification goes beyond farming to include forestry, textiles, and cosmetics. It is one of the oldest certifications in Germany. The key standards of Natureland: sustainable farming practices that promotes biodiversity, high standards for animal welfare, prohibition of the use of synthetic pesticides, herbicides, and GMOs. Natureland is respected for its comprehensive approach to sustainability, ethical trade, and social standards. It allows access to the German and European organic markets, where sustainability and ethical practices are highly valued. IFOA, International Federation of Organic Agriculture. IFOA, as earlier mentioned, is an umbrella organization that promotes organic agriculture worldwide. It sets global standards for organic certification and accredits certifying bodies in different countries. Key standards of IFOA: it prohibits the use of synthetic inputs and GMOs, focuses on soil health, biodiversity, and environmental sustainability, and encourages social responsibility and fair labor practices. IFOAM is a global leader in organic certification, and its standards are recognized internationally. Certification under an IFOAM accredited body ensures global acceptance of organic products, facilitating international trade. Soilless Organic United Kingdom. This is the leading organic certification in the UK, covering farming, food, textiles, and beauty products. Key standards: strict environmental and animal welfare regulations, prohibition of the use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and GMOs, emphasis on soil health, biodiversity, and resource conservation. The Soil Association is highly respected in the United Kingdom for its stringent standards, which often exceed EU organic regulations. It provides access to the UK's growing organic market and enhance consumer confidence in organic label. Demeter Biodynamic Certification. This certification applies to biodynamic farming, an advanced form of organic farming with a spiritual and ecological focus. Key standards. Biodynamic farms must be self sustaining ecosystems, use of specific biodynamic preparations for soil health, prohibition of synthetic inputs, GMOs, and strict animal welfare. Demeter certification is the global standards for biodynamic agriculture. It ensures access to niche markets that prioritize the highest level of organic and sustainable farming. India Organic. India Organic certification applies to organic farming practices in India, governed by the National Program for Organic Production (NPOP). Key standards: prohibition of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and GMOs, promotion of crop rotation, organic inputs, and sustainable farming, and also certification for both domestic and export markets. India Organic certification ensures compliance with international organic standards and is essential for Indian farmers and processors seeking to access global markets like the EU, US, and Japan. AB Agriculture, France. This French certification covers organic farming and food production. Key standards: no synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, and no GMOs. It has a strong focus on biodiversity, soil health, and animal welfare. And it insists on organic practices throughout the entire production chain. The AB label is highly trusted in France, a country where consumers prioritize organic and sustainable products. It offers access to the French and European markets. Importance of organic certifications. 1. Consumer trust and credibility. Organic certifications provides assurance to consumers that the products they are purchasing meet strict organic standards. The certification ensures transparency and builds trust between producers and consumers. Market access and premium pricing. Certification opens the door to premium markets, like I stated earlier, allowing farmers and producers to sell their products at higher prices. Certified organic products often command a premium due to their perceived quality and environmental benefits. Compliance with legal standards. In many regions, organic certification is required to market products as organic. Without, without certification, it is illegal to use the term in labeling or advertising. That works in Nigeria, and I believe it works in a lot of African countries. Environmental and health benefits. Certified organic farming promotes sustainable agricultural practices, which involves soil health, conserve biodiversity, and reduce pollution. This contributes to better environmental and health outcomes. Support for fair trade and social standards. Some certifications like Natureland and IFOAM also incorporate social standards such as fair wages, ethical labor practices, and community development. This helps to ensure that organic farming benefits both people and the planet. Facilitating international trade. Another important reason for organic certification or benefit for organic certification is the fact that organic certifications are recognized internationally, allowing produce to enter global markets. For example, the USDA organic certification facilitates access to the market in the US, while EU certification is essential for selling in Europe. Encouraging sustainable agriculture is another benefit for organic certification. Organic certification encourages farmers to adopt sustainable practices, reducing reliance on synthetic inputs, improving soil, and promoting biodiversity. This leads to long term ecological benefits for the environment. Establishing an organic farm or organic operations. If you're looking to establish and operate a successful organic farm, here is a short guide. First, you must understand organic certification requirements. Begin to study the organic program standards that you desire to implement or adopt, which defines how to grow, process, and handle organic products. These include the avoidance of synthetic pesticides, fertilizers, GMOs, and the use of organic seeds when available. Sometimes some certifying bodies will allow you to use seeds that can be verified, have been have organic origin when there are seeds that organic seeds when organic seeds are not commercially available in your area. Seeds that you have been able to get from your farm, if the USDA can verify and certify that these are farm inputs from your farm, the seeds were grown organically on your farm over time, you may be considered. Secondly, certifying your farm operations. If you want to establish an organic farm or an organic operation, you need to certify your farm or your operations. If you're planning to sell products labeled as organic, certification is required once your sales exceed $5,000 annually. Identify a USDA or any certifying organic body that you want to adopt. Get their agent who will guide you, or a consultant who will guide you through the process of certifying your farm or your operations. Soil management and fertility is another thing you must be aware of, familiar with. Soil health is foundational in organic farming. Conduct soil tests to assess the pH, nutrient content, and organic matter percentage. Improve soil fertility. Incorporate organic matter such as compost, manure, or cover crops, e.g., legumes, cowpea, like I said, sesame, lab, and the rest, to maintain fertility. Rotate crops to avoid nutrient depletion and reduce the risks of pests and diseases. Soil management and fertility. Incorporating organic matter such as compost, manure, or cover crops to maintain fertility and rotating crops to avoid nutrient depletion reduces the risks of pests and diseases. Avoid synthetic inputs. Only fertilizers and soil amendments that are listed in the organic material reviews, which it's an open document, you can have access to it, especially on the USDA website and other organic websites. The Organic Integrity website, they list all the organic approved inputs you can use on your organic farms. The third thing you need to be familiar with is to choose the right crop and crop planning. Choosing crops suitable for your climate, local climate, soil type, and market demand will be of great benefit. And you need to and prioritize organic and non-GMO seeds. Consider diversifying your crops to balance market opportunities and soil health. For instance, crop rotation with legumes, to fix nitrogen. You need to develop crop rotation plan to manage pest diseases and weeds naturally and to avoid soil degradation. This could involve alternating between grains, legumes, and leafy greens. Weeds and pest management. Organic standards emphasize cultural, mechanical, and biological controls for pests and weeds. Use strategies such as mulching to suppress weed, intercropping and companion planting to repel pests and attract beneficial insects, natural predators promote habitats for beneficial insects such as ladybug or birds to help manage pest population. And also for weeds, you use manual or mechanical weeding tools and maintain soil cover with cover crops or mulch to reduce weed growth. Water management. Efficient water use is essential for sustainability. Implement rainwater harvesting systems, drip irrigation, and mulching to reduce water loss for your farms or operations. Understanding the water requirement of each crop and monitor the soil moisture regularly to avoid over or under watering. Farm planning and infrastructure. Design your farm layout to ensure efficient movement of machinery, workers, and water. Farm mapping is an essential, it's a prerequisite for certification for the level 1 of this training. You must learn and practice how to map your farm in this level. This includes separating crop areas, buffer zones, especially if you're near a non organic farm or on a busy road or polluted areas. You need to know how to create buffer zones and design areas for your composting and water storage. Everything must be done orderly and mapped out. Record keeping and traceability. Keep detailed records of your farm activities, including inputs such as compost, seeds, and amendments, pest and weed management, harvest, and sales. These records are crucial for the USDA or any organic certification you choose to adopt and to ensure transparency in your organic practices. Ensure traceability by maintaining records of where inputs comes from and where products go at the end of every harvest. Compost and waste management. Composting is critical in organic farming for recycling farm waste and enriching the soil. Ensure you follow your chosen organic certification body guidelines on compost production, especially regarding temperature, turning, and curing times. Properly manage any farm byproducts, for instance, plant residues, to avoid attracting pests or creating environmental hazards. The use of dairy and proteins are completely discouraged when you are making your compost to avoid environmental hazards such as air pollution. And when you feed the soil will in turn feed the plant. Community and market engagement. Build relationships with local farmers, organic networks and forums, and agricultural extension services. Collaboration can provide you with shared knowledge and resources. Develop your marketing plan early, which will also be taught in level 3. Engage with direct marketing channels such as farmers, markets, community supported agriculture CSA programs, or farm to table partnerships which Afrieden Agriconnect community provides to reach consumers who value organic produce and can easily buy such produce off you with every harvest. Continuous learning and innovation is very, very key, important if you want to establish an organic farm or operations. Stay updated with the latest organic farming research and technology. Be open to experimenting with new organic techniques, crop varieties, or tools that align with global organic standards. That is one of the benefits of belonging to the Afrieden AgriConnect community because you will get to have a lot of that in the community. Strategies for organic farming in small or urban space. Organic farming in small urban spaces can be highly productive and sustainable if approached strategically. Here are several strategies that can help you make the most of limited space while adhering to organic principles. 1. Container farming. That's my favorite. Use of pots and containers grow grow vegetables, herbs, and even smaller fruit trees in containers on porches, balconies, and rooftops. Advantage: containers allow you to control soil quality and drainage while also reducing the risk of soil-borne disease. Composting: you can create a small compost bin for organic waste and use it to fertilize your container plants. Vert- Vertical gardening. Wall gardens or vertical planters maximize vertical space by growing plants on trellises, shelves, and wall-mounted planters. Climbing plants. Use crops like beans, peas, cucumbers, and tomato that can grow vertically, leaving more ground space for other crops. Living walls. Install green walls that can be used for growing herbs, greens, and small vegetables. Square foot gardening. Intensive planting. Divide your growing space into small square foot sections and plant intensively, focusing on high yield crops that are well suited to dense planting. Crop rotation. Plan your crops to optimize soil nutrients and manage pests naturally by rotating different crops each season. Companion planting. Plant crops that benefit each other's growth, like basil with tomatoes and marigolds to repel pests. You can do all of this using square foot gardening techniques. Raised bed gardening. In raised bed gardening, you can use your space efficiently by controlling soil conditions, drainage, and plant spacing. And raised beds are ideal for small gardens. Organic fertilization for raised beds. You can use compost, organic matter, and organic approved fertilizers to enrich the soil in raised beds. Maximize plant density. Space crops strategically to increase yield without crowding plants. Microgreens and herbs. Grow high value crops in small spaces by focusing on crops that are quick to harvest and have a high market value or culinary value, such as microgreen herbs like basil, cilantro, oregano, mint, and leafy greens. Indoor growing, you can grow your microgreens or herbs indoors using containers, trays, or even hydroponics and making them ideal for apartment space. So you don't have an excuse to say you're not farming because of space. You can always create space, no matter how small your space is for your organic farm. And the more you farm organically in your little space, the easier it becomes for you to adopt on a bigger or wider space. Aquaponics, aquaponics and hydroponics. Soilless farming, called aquaponics, combining fish farming with plant. I've seen this a lot with rice farming, which I will drop in the Google Classroom for you to as a resource for you to go through. And hydroponics, growing plants in nutrient-rich water, is being practiced in one of our farms here in Nigeria. Allows you to grow food without soil in confined spaces. Organic nutrients, organic hydroponics can use fish water as a natural fertilizer in aquaponics systems and organic approved nutrient solutions in hydroponic setups. Composting in small space. Vermicomposting, which will be taught intensely in, in this level, uses worms to compost organic kitchen waste in a small bin, creating nutrient rich worm casting that can be used as fertilizer for your plants. Bokashi composting, a fermentation based composting method that allows you to compost even in tiny indoor space with no order. That will be a practical that will be presented to you to replicate in this level. Intercropping and companion planting. Optimize plant space. Plant fast-growing crops alongside slower growing ones to make better use of space. For instance, you can plant your radish with carrots. Pest management. Use companion planting to deter pests such as planting garlic or marigold to protect vegetables from harmful insects. Rooftop and balcony gardens. Urban rooftops can be used as raised beds or container gardens. You need to ensure proper water drainage and safety precautions when gardening on rooftops. For balcony planters, you need to create planter boxes or hanging baskets to grow food on balconies. Take advantage of vertical space and sunlight. Succession planting. Maximize growing seasons. Stagger planting times so that you can, as soon as possible, as soon as you harvest a crop, you plant another. Another takes its place. This increases the overall yield throughout the season. Small in small spaces. You can pick the right method, like different crops can be planted in succession. You can plant vegetables. You can choose to plant vegetables like spring onions and amaranth in succession. You can also plant the same crop in succession or different crops simultaneously but with different maturity dates. This will help you to utilize your small space efficiently. Seed starting indoors. Early start. Begin growing seeds indoors before the planting season begins. This allows you to use space efficiently by transplanting seedlings to the outdoor space when they are ready. Efficient water use. Use rainwater harvesting systems such as drip irrigation or self-watering containers to conserve water and ensure efficient irrigation, especially in small urban environments where water resource may be limited. Use perennial crops. Plant perennial crops like fruit trees, berries, and herbs that continue to produce year after year, thereby reducing the need for you to replant and make long term use of small spaces. Community gardens and shared spaces. Collaborative farming. If space is extremely limited where you reside, consider joining or forming a community garden where multiple people share a single larger plot. This allows access to more land, shared tools, and resources. Schools or urban gardens can work for this purpose. Engage with urban agriculture networks to use unused public or private land for organic farming. Maximize light and microclimates. Sunlight optimization. Position plants to make the best use of available sunlight, which is critical in urban environments where buildings may block light. Use reflective surfaces, for instance, walls, glass walls, to direct light towards your plant. Create microclimates. Use shade clothes, windbreaks, or strategic planting to create favorable growing conditions for sensitive crops. Grow in bags and fabric pots. This is a favorite in Nigeria. Portable growing In portable growing, you can use bags or fabric cloths. Most people use the cement bags. Use cement bags, you wash it properly. And because it is breathable and portable, and it can be moved to different spots to optimize sunlight exposure. These are also great for root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets. We do a lot of yam in Nigeria, tomato, and all. Use organic inputs. Because you're farming on small space, it will be great if you can adhere strictly to organic principles and organic inputs because it will help you to be able to build your knowledge and develop your organic farming skills. Even if you're not going to use it for yourself, you can end up teaching others on how to farm organically, thereby benefiting yourself and the community because organic produce will become more and more available and it will become more affordable. Use organic potting soils if you cannot make your compost. Use your natural fertilizers like fish emulsion or compost tea, which you will be taught how to develop in this course to ensure that small space garden adheres to organic principles. Avoid any synthetic chemicals and pesticides and choose organic certified seeds and plants. Resource on that will be provided in the Google Classroom. Pollinator support. Encourage pollinators by planting native flowers or herbs like lavender, rosemary, and marigolds. This will improve crop yield in your confined space by ensuring good pollination takes place. By implementing these strategies, small and urban spaces can be transformed into productive organic gardens that are both sustainable and efficient. The key is to use space creatively, focus on high yield crops, and optimize resources like sunlight, water, and soil. Remember, the goal of this training is to empower smallholder farmers. As a smallholder farmer, growing your garden successfully will help you to become a successful and well established smallholder organic farmer. Thank you for being a part of this course. In our next course, we will be going through, we will take the lesson on understanding the different types of soil, soil health, and composting. And composting is our first practical for this class or this basic level. Thank you and see you all in the next class.